The stairs creaked beneath Eli's sneakers as he crept downward. One hand gripped the icy railing, the other clutched his flashlight tightly. Its beams sliced through swirling dust suspended in the air. Cobwebs brushed against his arms and face, sticky as fine threads of fingers. With every step, the air grew colder, heavier, pressing against his lungs until breathing became almost impossible. As his foot descended onto the step, he felt something soft beneath his sole. A sharp squeak pierced the silence. Eli's heart leapt into his throat. He nearly cried out, but bit his lip hard, lowering the flashlight beam. Two shining eyes stared back at him before a rat bolted into the shadows, its tail slapping the dusty stair. Eli's knees buckled. He drew in a deep breath and forced himself onward. On the first basement floor, the staircase opened into a locker room. The door hung ajar, rusty hinges groaning with every sway. Eli stepped inside. Rows of metal lockers stretched into the darkness, most of them gaping open, their contents scattered as if people had fled in a hurry. He swept the beam across the room. In one locker lay a pair of worn-out slippers blanketed in dust. People had left here in panic, Eli realized, and none had ever come back. The light froze on something white. Two spotless lab coats hung neatly on hooks, starkly out of place in this chaos. Eli approached, his pulse racing. From the pocket of one coat protruded a plastic card. His trembling fingers pulled it free. It was a lab entry card, scratched but intact. No name, only faintly legible initials, M.L. The photo, almost rubbed away, still revealed the outline of a woman's face. Expiration date, July 2023. In the corner of the card, a tiny, dried stain. Dark, rust-colored, blood. Eli's fingers stiffened. He shoved the card into his pocket and turned to leave, then froze. Another wide-open locker held a small child's backpack. A dusty teddy bear keychain dangled from the zipper, its fur stiff with time. Eli's breath caught. From a half-open pocket protruded a folded sheet of paper. Carefully, he pulled it free. In the corner, a child's drawing. Crayon strokes, sun, sky. Beside them, crudely drawn symbols, jagged lines and curves, forming the mark -B. A shiver raced down his spine. He went down another flight to level -2, storage rooms, a seemingly endless corridor of shelves stacked with boxes. Many had to topple, their contents scattered across the floor. Eli stepped cautiously, weaving through the wreckage. A heap of children's drawings spilled from a broken box. He crouched, pulling a few into the light. Smiling suns, tiny houses. Then something strange. Repeated symbols scrawled on page after page, diagrams that didn't belong in a child's world. His heart fluttered. On one sheet, a crooked little house was drawn. Above it, scrawled in clumsy letters, 27-B. Another showed a disturbing figure, a cloaked silhouette. On its chest, a symbol resembling a number. Eli shoved several drawings into his backpack with shaking hands. Rising, he scanned the shadows. Ahead, something lay in the dust. He crept closer, heart hammering. It was a massive stuffed rabbit toppled on its side, charred. Its fabric scorched, melted in places as if consumed by fire. Eli's chest tightened. His light slid across the toy's face. One glass eye remained intact, glistening. When the beam struck it, the eye flared with a blinding red reflection. For an instant, it looked alive, watching him. Eli flinched back, his breath caught. The staircase descended deeper into absolute darkness. Each step echoed like a warning. By the time Eli reached level -3, his flashlight trembled in his hand. The air was colder still, damp, laced with a faint reek of mold. He pushed through a set of wide doors. Before him stretched a hall lined with rows of dust-coated desks. On them, ancient computer monitors. Thick tangles of cables dangled from the ceiling like vines. At the far wall loomed a giant glass partition that at first looked like a mirror, but it swallowed the light. It was one-way glass. Someone had once watched from the other side. Eli's stomach twisted. He brushed dust off the nearest desk. A crumpled, stained sheet of paper lay there. Faint words could still be read. Cognitive reaction, below threshold, transference. The rest was smudged beyond recognition. Beneath other papers lay tiny children's headphones, decorated with stickers, stars, a smiling sun. On the headband, written in marker, 12. Eli swallowed hard and stepped back. Further along, the corridor led into an archive. Cabinets lined the walls, most rusted, some hanging open, contents strewn across the damp, moldy floor. Eli picked up a sheet, bold letters at the top. Protocol 27-B. Another page. Subject classification. His pulse quickened. On a desk in the corner lay a torn envelope with red stamp, secret. Eli tensed, moving slowly, cautiously. Then he accidentally bumped a half-open cabinet door. It slammed shut with a thunderous clang, the noise rippling through the silence. He froze, held his breath. Only the skittering of rats in ventilation shafts cut through the quiet. He didn't move. At last, he exhaled, uneven, trembling. Lowering the beam, he suddenly illuminated a photo on the floor. Eli picked it up, turned it over. 5 children stared back at him, no older than 5. They wore long white coats. On each chest, a number stitched, 1 through 5. They stood before a chalkboard, faces solemn. Time eroded the details. The child labeled 4 stood slightly apart, a shadow obscuring his face. Eli didn't know them, but dread gripped his chest. He shoved the photo into his backpack. On the far wall hung a scrap of newspaper. Remaining words strangled his breath. Shut down after incident. Miners relocated. The rest was torn away. Swallowing hard, Eli pressed on. The next room, laboratory. Tables littered with shards of shattered glassware, notes scattered across the floor. On the chalkboard, faint words still read, "Memory disruption test. Do not repeat." A chill tore down his spine. On one table lay a small tape recorder, dusty but intact. Beside it, graphs of brainwave patterns, times carefully marked. Eli hesitated only a moment, then pressed play. And the recorder stopped. Eli jerked back, pulse pounding in his ears.
The silence that followed was heavier than before. Backing away, his eyes caught a trash bin. Inside lay a heap of charred notebooks. Their covers bore the same faint spiral design as the black notebook hidden in his backpack. But these were burned, pages blackened, erased. Eli stared, horror curling in his gut. How many had there been, and why was his the only one still alive?
The corridor stretched deeper into silence, walls peeling, shadows twitching as if alive. At the end, Eli stopped. Before him, massive steel doors, red paint scrawled across them. Restricted, Cognitive Archive, Level 5 clearance only. The words burned in his eyes. Eli's beam slid over the steel and froze. Fresh, greasy fingerprints smeared the handle. Someone had touched this recently. He crouched, pressing his eye to the keyhole. Darkness. But deep inside flickered a faint green glow, like a heartbeat locked in shadow. Eli held his breath. Then, footsteps, distant but drawing closer. His body reacted faster than thought. Eli leapt back, scanning the corridor in panic, spotting an open door to the left. He slipped inside, gently closing it, leaving a sliver to see through. He crouched low in the darkest corner, heart thudding like a drum in his chest. The footsteps grew louder, heavy, deliberate. Eli's hands shook violently. He pulled one of the stolen documents from his bag. The paper crackled in his damp fingers. His eyes raced over the lines. Test subjects, ages 3 to 6, show susceptibility to external cognitive influence. Synchronization between predicted entries and real events suggests possible control over outcomes. Following the incident, research terminated, but subject journals remain partially active. Eli's throat tightened. His heartbeat was so loud it seemed to fill the lab. He stuffed the paper back into his bag. Instinct screamed, "Look." Almost unconsciously, he pulled out the black notebook. He flipped it open and froze. The words had changed. The warning about fire was gone. Now, a cold, merciless entry read, 2:23. The guard will find the open door. Eli glanced at his watch. 2:17. 6 minutes. His palms slick with sweat, the notebook quivered in his grip. 6 minutes. That was nothing. What should he do? What if the guard heard him? What if his breath was too loud? His thoughts spiraled, clawing at his mind. Eli pressed his hand over his mouth to muffle his breathing. But even then, it felt deafening. Suddenly, a flashlight beam swept past the crack. A silhouette stopped. A circle of light froze, listening, searching. The silence became unbearable. Then, a sound came from the end of the corridor opposite. A dull metallic crash, steady and rhythmic, like chains dragged across the floor and dropped. Something had moved behind the locked doors. Eli held his breath. The guard paused. His light halted. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then the footsteps shifted slowly away. The beam of light receded, swallowed by the dark. Eli slumped against the wall, cold sweat running down his back. Relief washed over him, but the fear remained. He clutched the notebook so tightly his fingers turned numb. Whatever had made that noise, it had saved him. But Eli knew with certainty it wasn't done because of him.